July 21st, 2025 meeting. And we'll start by doing a roll call. We'll start over here.
Alex Heim.
Adam Dewar.
Chris Casey.
Larry Schultz.
Amanda Cahill.
Mary Larson.
Jacob Paul.
Jenna Smith, and also joining us tonight is our summer intern, Ben Johnson.
Okay, well, thanks everyone and welcome. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was held on June 16. And those minutes were sent out with your packet. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve those?
I had a small correction. I think I was listed as attending, but I missed that meeting.
Okay,
And I had a addition, or not correction, but that when we had talked about the Allegheny Trail area as being like a under, utilized space, it said something about how we had talked about viability of paving it, but Larry had made a point, which I think is really good for the history, that the residents had showed support for keeping that unpaved. And just for the minutes, I think that would be nice to have in there, because it sounds maybe like we thought like paving was a good idea, whereas like Larry's point, I think like we don't want that to be communicated like that we are suggesting paving, and we'd rather keep it as residents want.
Sure. Yeah, that can be added.
okay. Any other corrections? Okay, is a motion in order with those corrections?
Motion to approve?
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the June 16, 2025 minutes with the corrections, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, we have the petitions, proclamations, suggestions, or complaints from citizens, committee members, or staff. So does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up this evening?
I had one, a citizen asked kind of open parkland or just general conservation land, if it's kind of the schedule for maintenance on the land. Is there a way that they should be able to get information on that? If, say they wanted to mow over it to make it look better from their kind of perspective, what's kind of the process for that?
It depends on how it's designated, and
Yep.
so if it's designated as open natural spaces, it will not be mowed.
Okay,
If it's designated as like a playable green space, then it gets mowed, but it depends, so I would need to
Okay.
know which location they're discussing.
okay.
And were you indicating that a neighbor wanted to mow?
The neighbor, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that anything like that should probably check with Jenna.
No, residents shouldn't be maintaining city property.
Okay. I'll have them check in with you.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I just wanted to mention to the group, because we also had talked about like the Nodeman Woods trail area, and we biked through that twice over the weekend. And just something to note, that people are using it. There's like some little off-road trails in there too that aren't like the paved trail. And when we were in there, there's multiple families like using it as a little, almost like mountain bike trail. So I just thought that was interesting, because like people are utilizing it in different ways than maybe we even thought. And to mention it that I know we have access to the Monarch Trail system within Carver Park Reserve, but just that people are also recreating in like little mountain bike type paths in the city too. So that could be an amenity that we think on for a new park space or whatnot. And then we were also at the Lions softball tournament at Lions Park, so it was amazing to see how many people the Lions group brought into the community, and how people were using all the spaces there and whatnot. One thing I wanted to mention is that on one of the fields, I overheard discussion between umps and players that there was trees overhanging the like fall ball post. Like it's a big yellow post in the outfield. So they had to decide on what the rule was going to be in that situation if a ball hit the tree that was overhanging that. So just wanted to mention for park update. But it was packed. It was a packed house.
Other comments? I just had one thing, just wanted to thank Jenna again for and for all of you that were able to attend to come to the park open house at Huntersbrook. I thought it was really a successful event. I don't know if we had a count, but I guess 70 plus, maybe more. And a great turnout. I thought we had good input, and it seemed like that neighbors were pretty excited about having a park and very open about providing input. So great to see. So thanks, Jenna. Okay, Jenna, you had some things you wanted to bring up?
Yep, so just some updates on things that have been going on around our department in our city. So if you've been to the Victoria Recreation Center, we got a little bit of a facelift in terms of we have new building signage that is all over the facility. So it's very thoughtfully designed, and it really helps with getting around the facility. Additionally, there are new fence guards that are installed on the pickleball courts to help with preventing any injuries for the very dedicated players on the pickleball courts. We also have a new memorial bench that was installed at Lions Park that was revealed and dedicated this past weekend at Oaks Fest. So that was good, honoring a longtime Lions Club member. The Park Development Survey is currently still accepting responses. The QR code for anybody who's watching online will take you directly to that survey, but to date, we have nearly 500 surveys. I think when I checked beforehand, it was at 493, which is probably one of the biggest responses we've had in our surveys for a while. So that's good, and it's not even closed yet. So that's great. We do thank you for the feedback regarding the last engagement event. We do have 2 more that are coming up. One is coming up this Wednesday, which is a more relaxed environment to be able to talk about some trails and things like that. It'll be going on at Lions Park entrance to the Noterman Trail. And so we'll be there at 9 on Wednesday. And then we have another evening one on August 19th that will be very similar to the one that was held at Huntersbrook. And that one will be from 6 to 8 at Marsh Hollows Future Park Site location. And so I encourage anybody who's listening to be able to join us for that one as well to share feedback. And then we do still have one more Wonders of Wasserman Camp coming up that is accepting registration up until this Friday. And so if anyone's interested in participating in that one is focused on outdoor sportsmen, so all sorts of outdoor recreation will be included with that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jenna. We have no old business this evening, so the next item on the agenda is new business. We're going to review the amenities and features of our current city parks and trails and have a discussion about some things that we may wish to add or things that we have that aren't being used. So Jenna's going to kick us off on this one.
All right, so what I'm gonna do first is we're gonna go through all of the current amenities, and so we'll discuss the things that we've already got going on in our locations, things that are in surrounding neighborhoods, communities, things like that, things that are in Victoria that people have access to. And so we'll go through, it's pretty detailed, and we'll see what it is that we currently have, and then I have some discussion questions at the end. So for the first 2 slides, these are our baseball and softball fields. And so you'll be able to see, so this picture here is on our detail ball fields. And so 2 of those fields are rated for youth or baseball or softball. And then we have 1 high school regulation size or baseball field there as well. There are dugouts at each of them, but only the baseball one has covered dugouts. The other ones are uncovered, just fenced in. We do have bleacher stands at at field 3 and 1 and 2 that are fairly small in size. And then at Victoria Elementary, we have one youth baseball field and then another one that's designated for both baseball and softball. And again, we have some uncovered dugouts there. At Lions Park, we have 4 different baseball or softball fields. Uncovered dugouts for each of these. There's bleacher stands. Lights are available at fields 2 and 3. And then at Lions Park as well, we've also got Poppets Field, which is home to the Victoria Vics and is another location for Holy Family currently. At Rhapsody and Lake Bridge, we have 2 baseball, softball fields and then uncovered dugouts as well. We have multi-sport fields located throughout Victoria. 3 of them are at DTELM, 1 is at Lake Bridge, and then 1 is at Laketown Park. Typically, these are used for a variety of different sports, but primarily soccer, lacrosse, and flag football. We have a lot of different types of courts throughout the city. We have basketball courts at Lions, Deer Run, which is a half-court one, Lakeside Estates, Lake Bridge Park, Madeline Creek, South Lake Virginia Shores, which is also half-court, and Rhapsody, which is also half-court. We've got our 8 pickleball courts at D-Town Park, and then there's tennis courts at Lions, Deer Run, South Lake Virginia Shores, and 8-1 at Holy Family. We've got park shelters located throughout the city. We've got Wasserman shelter where it's got 2 different sides that can be rented. This one has indoor restrooms as well as outdoor grills. We've got Rhapsody Park, which has a concessions area as well as indoor restrooms. We've got the bandstand located downtown. We've got the Lake Ridge Park, which also has an outdoor grill, and Lakeside Estates, which has an outdoor grill. And then Laketown Park, Madeline Creek Park, and South Lake Virginia Shores. All of these are rentable facilities. We have 17 total. I'm not going to list off all of these for you guys, but there are 17 total play structures, so playgrounds throughout Victoria that are rated for that 5 to 12 age range. We'll talk about some of those amenities here in a little bit, but we've got 17 of those. And then we have 5 total that are rated for ages 0 to 5. Some of them could fall in a category of leniency towards 2 to 5, but all of them are applicable for 0 to 5, depending upon ability level. And then throughout our playgrounds, we have quite a few different types of amenities at our playgrounds. So we have lots of slides, swings, both toddler and traditional. We have a variety of different climbing structures, hanging bars. We have spinning structures, rockers, forts, seesaws, circular swings. There's one rope bridge, a tic-tac wall, a digging machine, and one of our facilities has a zip line, which if you do hear public-wise, there was some damage to that zip line, but it is on order to be replaced. So if you do hear that, / if anyone is listening online, that is being replaced here soon. Some miscellaneous stuff that's throughout that doesn't fall in one of those other categories is we do have the outdoor ice rink and small warming house at Lions Park. We also have the skate park there. We have the Gaga Ball pit at Rhapsody Park that was installed last summer. We have natural play areas at Wasserman Lake Preserve. We have a fishing pier at Wasserman Lake Preserve, which also has the kayak boat launch. And then we have community gardens, which are located at DTELM and Holy Family. We've also got a variety of different green spaces. There's some that are natural spaces and some that are just open spaces. The difference between the two are just types of use. So the open space is typically an open field. We have a lot of trails around Victoria. Between trails and sidewalks, I think the number is 53 miles that you guys could walk around. But with these, we did note that some of them have benches and other amenities like a bike repair area or seating areas. One notable one is there is a trail around Lakeside Estates that doesn't have a bench on it, if that is something that we would want to consider. And then some of them do have benches that are tailored around a play structure within the park area.
Can I ask you a question? Are the tables and chairs down here city tables and chairs, or are those owned by some of the businesses?
Where are you talking?
On the patio, like the black and, okay.
All right, and then other notables to mention, we do have a variety of things that are in Victoria that are not necessarily city-run, but they are still obviously amenities for our residents. One of those is a privately run golf course at Deer Run, the dog park that's run by Carver County, as well as 2 different boat launches at Stargare Lake and Lake Sombra. So that leads us to our discussion.
Okay, so the first question is, we'd like to have some discussion on is, what is the city of Victoria doing well in terms of the amenities available? Anybody want to start us off?
Lots of baseball fields.
Okay. I guess from my perspective, I think there's quite a bit of variety. I mean, it seems like if you want to do one of those activities, it may not be right in your neighborhood, but it's pretty close that you can get to. And you know, I think we have a lot to offer.
Yeah, I've lived in a handful of different cities, and this by far is the largest number of parks that I've seen. I feel like every turn that I take, I see another park, which is great. I'm glad that we're effectively using the space, and so I think that just the availability of the spots to go for folks is what we're doing really well, I think.
Other thoughts?
I would say the investment in popular activities such as the pickleball courts, I'll just name it. I mean, that's a really popular activity, and we made that investment to make that happen, so.
Okay. Jenna, do we have a sense of how these parks, how well they're being utilized?
Well, we don't have people that are actually out there counting, so we don't have an accurate record of tracking in terms of just unscheduled use, but we do have some utilization in terms of how many people are renting the shelters, things like that, which has gone up even just in this last year. So we've seen an increase in our park shelter rentals with private groups coming in. So we heavily get our shelters being used for things like graduation parties or birthday parties or family gatherings. So we get a lot of utilization from that, as well as our fields and baseball diamonds. We have our associations that heavily utilize those. And so while we definitely do have a lot of them, they are heavily utilized by our associations, and so there's leagues that are going on as well as our own internal league, of course. And so we, throughout the seasons, we have associations and organizations that we partner with that utilize the fields through as soon as it's warm enough in spring all the way up until the end of September. And so our fields are at a premium, so during our prime hours, they're constantly being rented, and then we also have some camps that utilize it during the day. So we've got a lot of that going on. And so I would say all of our sports amenities are very heavily utilized. A lot of our unique amenities are heavily utilized as well. Our garden plots sell out really quickly every year, so we have a lot of dedicated return renters that come back every year, so those are heavily used. Pickleball courts are heavily used. So we do have a lot of heavy utilization of our parks. The one thing that is hard for me to track is the usage of our playgrounds.
Okay, great, that's helpful.
I think too, the addition of Wasserman in that natural play space was a big, like, wow, like, it is like different than the other parks. So in terms of a lot of the things that are out there, so not just the play space, but the shelter, the fishing pier. I know you said, amenity, a variety of amenities and access to amenities. So I know kids are, older kids in that teen, which we sometimes talk about, they're definitely going down to the fishing piers and biking there, because I hear about that. And they're going to Wasserman, and they're coming to Steger and whatnot. So that's probably not a very tracked area, and so I do know that from others.
I'm seeing them biking past our neighborhood all the time with fishing poles, so I know that. It's good to see.
I think we're doing a good job connecting our trails to kind of use downtown as like the center. Like we've got 53 miles, like
Trails and sidewalks.
and sidewalks. But it's helpful because if you want to go to Carver Park, you can take the trails. If you want to go into Excelsior, you can just take the trails. Like it's really bikeable, which is nice.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I think in general we do a very good job maintaining the parks. I mean, the facilities and grounds crews are
Make sure our public
on
works
top of it.
gets that
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on to the next question. What amenities that we currently offer need improvement?
Well, did see the new bench at Lions this weekend, and it was being utilized, and that got me thinking that probably there would be opportunities for additional benches just in parks and grounds areas as well. And then over at D-Town Fields, there was like an adult male baseball game going on. And what I didn't realize was like a really nice feature was the rows of trees planted between the ball field spaces, because those were being heavily utilized by people wanting to sit in the shade. And, nowhere else for spectators was there, shade or whatnot. So I don't know if, I know this says amenities, but I don't know if, addition of trees in spaces could also be something we look at.
Yeah, shade structures also exist, so if it's an area that we couldn't grow a tree, if it's something that we think that a shade structure would be an appropriate place for, those exist. I'm a proponent for trees, but at the same time,
Yeah.
those require a lot more maintenance, and so if it's in an area that wouldn't sustain a tree, that could be an option.
Other thoughts?
Just on the topic of trails, we do have a lot of trails, and especially once you're kind of in a neighborhood, you can get around on trails very easily. There's still some busy roads that you have to cross to go from, for instance, Lake Town to downtown, that don't feel super safe. So that I think could be improved for the trail system in general to become more accessible.
Kind of piggybacking on that and what you had said about people using Wasserman for going out there on bikes, fishing. There's really it's hard to get there without going on that busy road. It's kind of even busier now with the detours. So.
One more thing about as far as needing improvement, I would say some of the older trails are getting a little worn. There's one right outside of the rec center that I've biked now by a couple times when I go by there, and it's a little worn. There's a couple others. There's some of the older ones. I'm just, I know that we're doing a really good job of maintaining our park equipment, but I'm starting to see some wear and tear a little bit on the older trails. I don't know what our plan is for.
Yeah, we've been working with our public works team to identify next steps on how to do that. But as we've discussed before, trails are not cheap. And so some of them were able to reseal but other ones are ones that we need to plan for a replacement.
And then, I know I already mentioned the seating down there. It's always heavily utilized, so I don't know if there's an opportunity to add some more tables and chairs in the space that's out here by the band shell, the patio area, especially on like car nights and weekends. It's just, everyone is vying for their.
Okay, other thoughts?
Are we able to use the water kind of behind us? Like if we put an access point into the water straight back, is that option?
It's tricky because not all of it's ours.
Okay.
So we, some of that would be operating off of land that is owned by Three Rivers or Carver County or
Okay.
whichever one it is. So that's partially why we don't have one that's going directly off from here.
Okay. Because I know in Victoria South, a lot of us go to Chaska for Fireman's Park over there just because there's water access, there's concessions, kinds of that's, they've made that their central park. If there's ways to explore that downtown here, that'd be pretty cool.
Okay, good point. Other thoughts before we move to the third question? Okay. Third question, what amenities are missing that could be incorporated into our parks and trails system that could increase utilization?
I guess kind of a hybrid of the second bullet and this bullet, and kind of piggybacking off of what Chris was saying and Amanda, of whether it's benches or access, but just thinking about downtown and knowing there's a lot of folks down here, like just coming down on Sunday to grab something to eat, it was packed down here. And there's a draw of people. It'd be nice if there was some other additional focal point, whether it was not even a play structure, but just to start thinking of another item that could get people to come down that then would generate commerce, as opposed to kind of the commerce driving the population maybe down here if they're not coming off of the trails, or making there be like a, end of the line, somewhere around here, destination activity of some sort. That would just drive some folks down here. I think that would be helpful for all involved, for, utilizing use, getting people to come down here, and then helping the businesses, especially with the construction that's now ongoing and it's going to continue for the foreseeable future, to just add additional items to make people want to come down.
I will say, while I don't 100% know what the amenities are going to be, when we are expanding to downtown West, there are some public spaces and things like that that will be incorporated into that might be able to fulfill that. So even if we can't fit it into the footprint of the existing downtown, it is expanding, so there will be more opportunities to recreate and come together as a community once that's developed.
Like maybe like a water feature?
It's all TBD, but we can.
I didn't want to sound like a broken record, which is why I'm like sitting here quiet, the third bullet point. Water feature? Yeah.
Lake access, splash pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, the splash pad was a hot topic at the Hunter's Brook. And,
I'm sure
know,
we'll see it in the survey results too.
Yeah.
It was also a favorite because we did park engagement at the truck rodeo this past week as well. And we also had a pick your favorite amenity board on there, and splash pad was the obvious choice. We couldn't even see the words by the end of it, so
yeah.
the public has spoken about splash pad.
Okay.
So some sort of a water feature has been noted.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's so many options, right? There's the options that are like at Fireman's that are just like coming up off the cement, and then there's, I don't know if anyone has been out to Delano, but if you have Little's, Delano's splash pad is just like amazing. I mean, obviously they have landscape structures out there as a part of their community, but there's so many different variations.
Yeah, we were just at the Sand Venture in Shakopee, which was a unique structure with, kind of like the Three Rivers, kind of natural sand bottom with play structure going into like a filtered of some sort water feature with concessions, and that was pretty unique. A lot of families utilizing that. I know the Three Rivers option gets utilized similarly. And I've heard a lot of traction recently about kind of the mountain bike trails that are going in Shakopee as a kind of a fun, unique feature. So those are bigger items, but just thinking of kind of larger, kind of get people interested and excited about something.
You know, one thing we've talked about in the past, we also talked about how expensive it can be is an outdoor pool. More than just a splash pad, but it's an outdoor pool with slides or whatever. There's really, to the best of my knowledge, not any real close here. And I think that's something that would really draw people from other communities here, since there isn't one nearby, if our interest is drawing people into our community, and also serving our residents. The unfortunate thing is we have a thing called winter that seems to be last too long. So, I mean, it's something that doesn't get used a lot. I mean, from over the whole year period, but I think it would be heavily used in the summer if we could swing it somehow. Just a question for those that are more familiar with splash pads than I am. I mean, what age group does that serve?
It's the younger kids. I was just at Delano one with my grandkids who are 2 and 4, and they had a blast. And there were kids there maybe up to age 8-ish.
Okay.
And that was about it. But they're maybe there with a younger sibling, kind of a thing. It's
And
really,
it always depends on what the amenities are, because depending upon the scope of the splash pad, I will say they are sprinkler based, and so if you hit an age where you don't enjoy running through water, then that's probably not going to be a thing for you. But there are some amenities that are significantly larger that could appeal to a larger age range. There are some shapes that are a little bit more, so it could target a wider range, but I would say typically it's 10 and under.
Okay.
Yeah, my girls are 9 and 11, and they're like, just because they would like it, but they like look old out there, and they're like, oh, this is kind of, there's a lot of little kids here. But to Jenna's point, like Maple Grove Community Park has a lot of amenities in one area, and that is just one that's, shooting high or whatnot off the pavement. But then everyone's like taking that water and putting it down this like metal slide and going insanely fast. So like, it appealed to a greater age range, right? Like, because they had the adjoining structures that were for a higher level of age group of play. So.
At one time, we had some discussion, somebody had brought up about like a ninja course
Yeah.
that, might appeal to, more younger, but also teenage kids. Even, I don't know if something like that has any interest, but might be something to explore. We also talked about at this meeting, like hammocks around, or places that at least have those, or people could bring their, something to, one community had some where they just had the standards, and you brought your own hammock. We could do something like that too, especially in some of the nature type parks.
Do we have any waterfront areas that the city could use to do more like beach type things? I know Excelsior has a park with the beach that we were on yesterday.
Not yet.
Okay.
We had talked one time about trying to plan ahead about, is it Pearson Lake or Lake Pearson? Is the next lake that's close to the city.
with swimmable water. That's the other thing, is a lot of our lakes don't have water that's swimmable.
Yep.
Yeah, so Pearson Lake would be one if we were able to acquire access to beachfront property. That's still TBD, but that would be the one that would be considered for that if possible.
You know, it seems to me that we might want to try to get out in front of that one, because I would think that whoever owns that land now, when they sell it, there's going to be a considerable tax consequence. So a way for them to perhaps reduce their taxes would be to donate some of that property to the city. So, you know, I wonder if we shouldn't start having some of those conversations with people that may own that land and just say, hey, if you're ever thinking about selling this, here's something for you to keep in mind that would be a legacy you could leave to the city, but also help themselves reduce some of their taxes. Because once they sell it, then it's maybe totally gone. That opportunity's gone. So, other thoughts about amenities that we're missing that could be incorporated into our parks and trails system?
Like a trail or sometimes boardwalk around water tends to be very popular. Somebody mentioned Fireman's Park. There's also a couple or few in Minnetonka that are always well-trafficked. People like walking around water. Another one, I don't know if we have any like sand volleyball courts. Those tend to be,
Yeah, that's a good.
those draw people on the weekend especially, I think.
Yeah, it's,
Good one.
On the Ninja Park comment and what's missing, we also talked about like a poured accessible park. So most new parks that I see that are being built are of like the poured rubber.
It's called port in place.
Okay. And so that would be one that would be new or different, not repeating kind of the same offering that I would see would be important in considering for new parks.
Yeah, I would lobby hard for that. Delano has one really, really nice accessible park, and my grandkids had a fun time on it anyway, because they were having a good time in the equipment, and it was just really kind of seamless how they just incorporated things that were accessible for wheelchairs, but yet they were just able to play on it all as well, and so it just works for everybody. It's a really, really nicely designed park, so I thought that was a good standard.
okay. Other thoughts?
And this is maybe me just not knowing how city government works, but like, would you speak to Chanhassen and Chaska's park directors too to kind of coordinate different amenities, or is that something that's not as common?
We wouldn't in terms of coordinating amenities, but I am in contact with I'm very well connected to our neighbors. And so we try not to duplicate, but if there's something that's working successful that is too far for our residents, things like that, we do generate and share ideas often.
Okay.
And so that is something that is a part of what I do.
Okay, because I'm curious if like you've gotten feedback from other cities, like we think Victoria could have this to draw people into Victoria. Have you had anything come your way?
I haven't had necessarily that type of a conversation, but we've had conversations about what's working really well, what might not be working very well, and maybe what they're missing that they can't do that people are asking for. That's been mentioned. So.
Can you share some of those with us?
A lot of the things that have been mentioned just have been like limited fields and things like that. So it's like there's a lot of demand for some of the associations, and they just don't have the fields for them, and so that's been mentioned.
I know that some people in the past have brought up outdoor ice, you know, not just for hockey, but for skating in general, and I mean, that hasn't come up here tonight yet, so we've probably add that to the list. And part of that may be just fixing up what we already have, so it can be used.
I think there are definitely like other things that I see in other communities. I just don't know what our community is asking for. So it will be really interesting to see the results. So like some things that I think of are like if you can't put in a whole disc golf course, well, some of the neighboring, schools or whatnot are putting in like a few holes so that someone could go do disc golf around the school property. Or like other smaller amenity draws like that. So it just would be interesting to see what, or like, that we talked about it last time, mini golf, or I know the Loop just opened, which is right, near us too, and they have 18 holes of mini golf too, which I wasn't aware of. But, if it's like a hole somewhere that could be fit in that kids and community members would go to, do a few practice putts or whatnot. So some of those like smaller, or, park features that we could fit in that we don't have any of.
I think the mini golf thing is the one they have in Lakeville is pretty cool. Are you familiar with that one? Yeah.
That's a good park.
Other thoughts? Jen, I'd be interested in what you have seen amenities that we might think about adding.
Well, I will say I am happy to hear about some of the comments that you have because these are a lot of things that I'm looking into. And so some of the things that I've seen in other locations that have been really good, the pour in place that you talked about, those are different things. And I have a pretty big background in working with people with disabilities, and so inclusive play is a part of something I take into consideration for all of that. And so some of those elements are things that I look into. I think with the amenities that we have here in Victoria, we do have a lot, but I think the idea of one of our guiding principles being, being a unique Victoria, some of them are very similar in some of our neighborhoods. And so one thing that I've seen being successful in other communities is having more like regional park or like park draws or thematic parks where, each one has like a different purpose. So we do have some like neighborhood ones, but I've seen it be very successful to have different themed ones throughout. And so that's something that, as we are upgrading parks in the future and things like that, that we want to consider making things a little bit different so that there's a new experience. Because obviously you have the one that's in your neighborhood, but it's not to stop you from going to another one in another neighborhood. That happens all the time because kids can get worn out from the ones in their neighborhood, so they want something new. So that's something that I've seen be very successful in other communities. You've mentioned the challenge course thing. There are some that have popped up in Minnesota that are very popular and are in great condition. And so some of those have been good, and they do work really well for all sorts of ages because you'll see it down to the little toddlers who are learning how to do these sports all the way up through the parents are having a blast. And so for me, I look into how are these areas going to be designed so that the entire family can have fun, not just the 2 to 4 year olds or the 5-year-olds or things like that. And so there's a lot of things that will be coming forward as we continue on that I will share with you guys.
When do you anticipate sharing the survey results with us?
So I will not be closing the survey until September. I'm not exactly sure which date quite yet, but I wanted to give it enough time after our final park engagement event so that people had time to fill out that survey. And then I'll be taking the time to put together the results to bring back to the committee.
And are we going to have access to the data, the committee members? Okay, great.
Okay, other thoughts?
I would just say too, as we're looking at new parks, I know you put in the shade for the pickleball area, but just like additional shade features at the parks too, whether that be like over certain play structures or over benches on the side. I just see that as becoming more and more desirable. and in parks that I visit, seeing those type of amenities.
I was just talking to someone at the Arboretum about as the climate is warming, the types of trees that are prospering in Minnesota are changing. So one of the ones they like is called a Kentucky coffee tree now. It's
I love that tree.
What is it called?
Kentucky coffee tree.
Okay.
Really big leaves.
Oh, really?
Other comments? You getting the information
Absolutely.
you're looking for? Anybody else have anything else to add? Okay, great. Thanks for good discussion. Is there any other business? Hearing none, a motion would be in order to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed, say no. Okay, our meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thanks, Jenna. Jenna, do you know, I know you sent it out. Can you remind us what, like, roughly might be next meeting?